Of the Board of Supervisors is now in session. Since we are absent a chair and vice chair, I will begin the meeting by conducting roll call. Supervisor Brown?
Here.
Supervisor McCowan?
Here.
Supervisor Krosky is absent by prearrangement. Supervisor Jurdy?
Here.
Chair Hamburg is also absent by prearrangement. I would like to invite the sheriff to lead the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would invite the board to nominate a chair pro tem.
I will nominate Supervisor Brown.
I'll second the motion.
Chair Brown now leading the meeting.
Well, we could vote.
We're not voting.
Oh, well, you can vote.
How about the script? How about the script?
I'm just rolling with it today.
So how about the script?
Yes. Here you go.
Do you want us to vote?
Please vote by the button for Chair Brown to be, Supervisor Brown to be Chair Pro Tem. That motion carries with Supervisor Hamburg and Supervisor Krosky absent by prearrangement.
All righty, and thank you very much, Carla, for your work on this to get us going this morning. And now we'll entertain public expression. We invite members of the audience to comment on items of interest that's not on the agenda. Is there anyone that would like to come forward? Okay, I do have something. Casey O'Neill. Please state your name for the record.
Casey O'Neill, local farmer, acting chair for Mendocino County Growers Alliance. I am a member of the Bell Springs Fire Department, the volunteer fire department up there. We are ready to fight anything that pops up there. And I, as a member of a volunteer fire department, I recognize just how difficult this process is, and I really want to appreciate the firefighters and all of the emergency personnel who are putting in so much time and effort and energy. Both my brothers were CAL FIRE engineers for several years, and so we have a pretty strong connection to that arena and really just a tremendous sense of appreciation. I would like to briefly suggest, last year we had some pretty significant difficulty figuring out how to get cannabis farmers into their farms during, once emergency agricultural access had been restored. And so I just wanted to briefly suggest that if it were possible to make sure that emergency ag access was available to regulated cannabis farmers this year, that would be something that I think would benefit the county overall in terms of avoiding crop loss and mitigating damage to crops. So, not suggesting that we should compromise public safety in any way, shape, or form, but that as ag access is restored, that we make sure that we also include cannabis farms in that. And I very much appreciate the opportunity to comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public expression, please come forward. State your name for the record. Seeing none, we will move forward on the agenda. Our first agenda item is 5A, discussion and possible action, including 1, making of a determination that an emergency situation exists within Mendocino County, and 2, adoption of a resolution declaring a local emergency related to the Mendocino Complex fire. Executive Office, you're our sponsor. Can you please do the introduction?
Yeah. Thank you, Chair Brown. As this board knows, the Chief Executive Officer is also the Office of Emergency Services Director, and with that authority, based on our fire situation and the crisis that we were in, and actually still are in, on July 27th, with that authority, I declared a local emergency, and that was sent up to the state. And based on law, what we need to do is have the board adopt that and make a determination. And so this item is to make the determination of the emergency situation that exists within Mendocino County and adoption of a resolution declaring a local emergency related to the Mendocino Complex fire. And as part of this item today, we have CAL FIRE with us, Chief Gonzalez and his team. We also have Sheriff Tom Ullman here. And we have our OES coordinator, Rick Ellert. Tammy Moss-Chandler is here as well, who will be doing the second item, which is the declaration of a public health emergency. At this time, Chair Brown, I would like to ask Chief Gonzalez to come up to the podium and speak. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Chief, please state your name for the record, sir.
Good morning, everybody. George Gonzalez, CAL FIRE Unit Chief. Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board, CEO Angelo, County Counsel Elliott, thank you for allowing us to participate this morning. A couple of key items that I want to throw out there. One, we do have a damage inspection team that's been assigned to the incident, so they're getting an accurate total numbers of any structures that were damaged or involved within the county of Mendocino and Lake County. So that is forthcoming. Over to my left, we have incident member management team, Bob Frias, and we also have Mike Martin. They're assigned to the incident management team. The incident management team consists of about 44 members. They all wear the red hats. They're experts in their fields, and they've been activated to assist us with these two fires. So for your incident update, I'd like to invite Chief Bob Frias and Chief Mike Martin. One's going to go to the map and go over the fire information for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Again, Bob Frias, Incident Commander Training with Incident Management Team 2. Just going to give a quick overview of the current incident status for both the river and the ranch and where we lie operationally. We'll start down here at the bottom of the map with the river incident. The Hopland area originated in the Hopland area and has now moved into Lake County and is affecting the cities and communities over in Lake County. For the Hopland area, there we go. Can we hear better now? For the Hopland area, can you see the map? All right. The Old River Road, Highway 175 area up to the county line, it has held so far as of this morning, and they're pushing in with mop-up, finishing containing some of those hot spots. Currently, a plan is being developed to tie in the north side of the river fire. Now, everywhere along River Road and about a mile up towards Cow Mountain OHV, there is good dozer line, and that is holding. From that point, out past the radio repeaters and down into Scotts Valley on the other side is a priority today to get that tied in. They have dozers, crews, engines, everybody working on that today. Is there any questions on the river incident?
Supervisors? Seeing none, sir.
Okay.
Well, yes, could you explain a little more about the south and east edge of the fire and what it's currently doing in terms of...
in the Lake County portion?
Yeah.
Yes. So currently in Lake County on the southeast portion, the fire did cross Highway 175 yesterday afternoon, which prompted a few more evacuations. And with the resources that we had, that was a priority. They have made good progress overnight. They are continuing to make this a priority. There's currently dozers working to tie in a primary and a secondary line, and that's taking place right now. There's a fairly good probability of success if the weather holds, and we continue to get the resources that have been requested and that have been coming in from the region and out of state like they have been over the last 12 to 24 hours.
Thank you.
Okay, moving. Any other questions on the river incident?
Not seeing any, sir.
Okay, so we'll move up here to the ranch incident. Ranch incident originated off of Highway 20 in the area of the Buffalo Ranch. So far to date, Highway 20 still remains closed from basically Potter Valley Road all the way down to Bartlett Springs and Upper Lake. The fire has been held. It did spot across Highway 20 in several locations, but we've contained those spots and kept it to the east of Highway 20. Down here in the Scotts Valley Road area along Highway 20, just south of Blue Lakes, there was a spot fire that came across the ridge, and that is a priority on the ranch fire to keep that contained and to try and lock that in, so Highway 20 will be the perimeter. Up around Potter Valley, we've got good success through Potter Valley and to the northeast of Potter Valley. Basically, the active fire has
gone into the Mendocino National Forest, which will continue to be a challenge. But as we get more resources, we will start addressing that, and we have Forest Service personnel coming in today who we're going to be working with in coordination with some of their team folks as well to address the Mendocino National Forest problem. But for the most part, Potter Valley is fairly opened up, and I'll let you talk about the evacuation stuff. But as far as the fire itself, the dozer line is holding, and Highway 20 is holding down to the Lake County line.
So on the hills of Potter Valley, basically it stopped from going down in to Potter Valley, like Pine, Burris, Mid-Mountain.
Correct. The dozer lines are holding the fire where it currently is, and we don't anticipate progression any further to the west or to the northwest.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Supervisors, any?
We saw some pretty ominous pictures in Lake County on social media. Upper Lake, it looked like the fire was coming on down into Upper Lake. Are those towns intact?
So the fire did make some significant progress and did affect some areas in the Bachelor Valley area, Witter Springs, and into Upper Lake. There were some structure losses. Exactly what those structures are not confirmed yet. Could have been outbuildings, could have been residences, unconfirmed. As Chief Gonzalez stated, there is a DINS team that is currently assessing the situation and all the damage that has occurred. So we'll have better validated information hopefully later today. As far as Upper Lake, yes, it was very visible. It was visible all from Highway 20 and all the surrounding communities. But that Upper Lake area, the fire has held, and they are actively holding that. And again, a lot of this area remained unstaffed. Our priorities were structures, life, property, that sort of thing. And that's where we focused our attention. So that's where currently the fire is held there. They are actively mopping it up, and we're making good progress up towards Elk Mountain and up Bartlett Springs.
That's good. In Scott Valley, and excuse me for skipping back there, but there's quite a number of agricultural crops, and harvest time is upon us. Do you know what the damage is? Has it gotten into the orchards?
So down back here on the river incident,
Yes.
So the Scotts Valley area, that is a point where they still had some uncontrolled fire in that area. How it affected the pears and a lot of the agriculture in that area, they actually held it to the valley floor. That's where they made their stand.
Right.
So we don't have accurate information exactly because, again, the damage assessment teams are out there today getting that, and we should have better information later this afternoon.
Wonderful.
Also, on the one side of Scotts Valley Road, there was a significant amount of resources embedded in there. I believe yesterday, Chief Frias, they created a backfire, keeping it from that Lower Lake, Kelseyville area, and I believe there was one slop over on the 175 corridor that has been contained. And to date, I believe we have just over 2,000 personnel assigned.
And then going back to the ranch fire and where it jumped on Highway 20, there was a rumor that there was one home destroyed close to Buffalo Ranch. Is that correct?
I cannot confirm that.
Okay.
Was there the one? There are, we know of multiple structures that were in the path, and there has been several outbuildings, but exact numbers I can't give you. But Chief Gonzalez states yes.
There was one on the 20 corridor.
Okay.
But not on the south side.
Not on the south side.
I didn't know of any on the south side where the spot fire was.
Okay, any other questions? No. Thank you very much.
Chair Brown, if CAL FIRE has nothing further to report, Sheriff Allman, could you please come up?
Thank you. So this is a situation, unfortunately, that our deputies are getting good at. I wish it wasn't the case, but it is. So we've been in the field knocking on doors and doing evacuations. Today is a very important day. We're going to start reopening. CAL FIRE has been very respectful of our request to repopulate as many areas as quick as possible. We expect to have some repopulation in Potter Valley. Not all roads are going to be repopulated, and on the 175 on the river fire, the Hopland Band of Pomo Indians has been repopulated. They were evacuated for about 72 hours, and they're back. So the fact that the River Road is now open, 175 is still closed, and that we're going to be opening some of the Potter Valley roads is very, very significant. Knock on wood, we're going through this fire with no injuries, with no damage. Our deputies are out there, and I want to give a shout out and maybe a scolding to some county employees. The shout out is to the county employees who have been contacted that they're emergency service workers, and they were coming in and answering the phones. The scolding is to the approximately 90% of county employees who either don't answer their phones or don't return phone calls when they're asked to come in on their days off, and they may not understand that they're emergency service workers. And the fact that we have people who are avoiding their responsibility as public servants is certainly something that irritates me, and you as a Board of Supervisors should be fully aware. And I hope that the CEO's office is going to be able to provide you a list, maybe a list of the employees who came in. I don't know if I would go so far as to ask you for the list of people who didn't come in, but I certainly would like for the Board of Supervisors to recognize the county employees who stepped up and said, yes, it's my day off, my family's at home, but I need to go into work and man the call center and take care of some basic responsibilities. So with that being said, I'm going to guess the next 48 hours or so will allow the Mendocino County to either suspend or deactivate our OES center. Maybe just suspend it for a little bit, but we are working with Lake County and Sheriff Martin in ways that have never been done before. We, as you may be aware, Lake County Jail was evacuated 2 nights ago. It was evacuated because Ukiah Unified School District employees came in on their day off and took 7 buses. The Sheriff's Office escorted 7 buses there, and the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office staffed those buses with the inmates as they were taken to a Bay Area jail. So we have a lot of county employees who have stepped up to understand that our Lake County partners would be there for us if we ask them to be there, and so we're there for them. So I've met with Lake County Supervisor Rob Brown, who's very, very engaged with this fire, and so the coordination between both counties is something that Mendocino should be extremely proud of. That's it for us.
And yes, I think it would be very important that we do receive a list of the county employees who have come in. And it's disappointing to hear, but some of them may have been gone on vacation. I don't know what the communication was, but it's disappointing because we know we all go through the training for emergency response as county employees.
Chair Brown, yes, thank you, Sheriff Allman, for your report. I'd like to say that what we did in the fire of October 17, we were able to do again over the weekend, and that is that our Human Resources Director, Heidi Dunham, has been responsible for staffing the Emergency Operations Center and staffing the call center and assisting with shelter staffing as needed. What has happened is that as she has called employees and as Human Resources staff have called employees, not all the employees have responded. So Sheriff Allman is right with that. And we have had some employees respond that they will be in and then not show up. So my plan is to send letters to all the employees that we contacted who did answer the phone, because it is you know, at the end of July and August, and some employees are on vacation and weren't in town. But those employees that did respond and refused to come in, we'll be getting a letter, and we'll be getting a letter in their personnel file, because this is a very serious issue. Everyone is a disaster service worker, as the sheriff has said. Human Resources now speaks about this, about public service and disaster service workers in orientation. We have 1,205 employees. Every single one of them should be aware when there is a fire in our county or close to our county and should be up and ready to come in as needed. What I do want to say, though, is we had 2 department heads who refused to allow their staff to come in and respond. So while we're looking at the staff saying no, any department head who says no to this, I really take exception with, and I'm sure this board does as well. So I will be dealing with the department heads that refuse to allow their employees to respond as disaster service workers during this period of time, and also with those employees. So I assure this board that that item will be dealt with. And again, thank you, Sheriff, because as great a response as we had, the response from your deputies and yourself through this period of time has been phenomenal. Thank you. I do want to say, Chair Brown, before we go on, is that we have had over 700 hours of staff time that has been involved over the past weekend. I do believe that we will run into a cash flow issue, and if you think about Lake County and all the reports that you've heard from Lake County about the multiple fires over the last 3 years, the one point that my CAO colleague makes in Lake County is the issue of cash flow, because you just can't catch up, and FEMA cannot respond quick enough to get you those dollars for cash flow. So we will be dealing with this, and this will be a request that we make of the state. And we did get, with the emergency declaration, we did get an FMAG declaration, which will cover fire response and also the sheriff, and that's the Fire Management Assistance Grant, which does cover the first 30 days. However, you don't get any money any time soon. So I think that we have a really adept team. You know, that's the good news. The bad news is we have an adept team at responding to fires. But everyone, those that are the core team that you see in this board chamber all the time, that have been dealing with recovery since October of 17, that have been dealing with all the cannabis issues, with the planning issues, with all of it, they're the same people that are responding. And thank God we have those staff to help us respond. So I think at this time we're going to go to Rick Ellert to give us an update on the emergency operations center and the
Ms.
call
Angelo,
center.
we do have, I have a question that I wanted to ask. Now, our shelter is completely being run by Mendocino County because Red Cross is in Lake County, is that correct?
Our shelter is being run by social services staff, and when Tammy does her public health report, she could report on the shelter if you'd like, or certainly she can report now. But yes, you're correct. Red Cross is in Lake County. All of our county staff are working in our shelter.
Okay, and then the other question, have we been putting smoke masks out? Do we have access to them? Yeah. Because I'm thinking it's fair time. We have lots of fairgoers, our 4-H and FFA members and their families. And Chief, I just want you to know that Ford Road's going to be really busy throughout today with the moving of livestock, but it probably would be advisable that we have a place there where we can have mass distribution.
So Chair Brown, I know that Tammy will talk about this, but I will tell you we have masks available in all areas, and so anybody could have a mask. I have a box. I mean, everyone has them. Regarding the traffic, we are talking about this. CAL FIRE is talking about this in their 10 a.m. cooperators meeting that they have every morning, one way in to the CAL FIRE Incident Command Post, and then out through State Street is my understanding. So I think they're well aware of the fair traffic, but thank you for that reminder as well. So at this point,
Supervisor McCowan.
So if we're going to put letters in the files of those who do not respond, I would suggest we have letters of commendation for those who did.
Thank you, and maybe I can get that. The letters for those that did not respond could come from myself, and the letters of commendation could come from the Board of Supervisors.
That works well.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Can we move on to Rick Ellert now? Rick?
Rick Ellert, Emergency Services Coordinator with Mendocino County. So I'm just going to provide a quick update on what we've been doing in the county's Emergency Operations Center, or EOC. So the county's Emergency Operations Center was activated on Friday in response to the fires, and we continue to ramp up throughout the weekend as the fire conditions worsened. The county's Emergency Operations Center is still open, and we see that we will probably be open for another day or two at the very least. This all, of course, depends upon fire conditions. Our Emergency Operations Center is currently planned to be staffed from 8 a.m. today through 5 p.m. tonight. along with our emergency call center, which was also opened shortly after the emergency operations center was opened. Our emergency call center has been very vital in our emergency response as we respond and coordinate to this emergency in Mendocino County. It was kind of something that we started doing for the first time after the fires we had last October, and it really demonstrated its value there. So of course it's something we wanted to continue doing during this fire. It's lessened the load on our emergency dispatch center that the sheriff's office has, and it's really been a good resource for the community in getting out information to everyone about where the evacuation areas are, what's happening, resources that are available to them. So I think that's been a really big benefit to Mendocino County, and it's something that I would like to commend all the county employees who did come in and staff that. We had people working in the call center that had family in Lake County that were being evacuated, that were dealing with a lot of issues of their own, and they came in and they served, and it was a great benefit to the county. I would also like to thank all the staff that came into our emergency operations center. We've had between a dozen and 20 staff working in the emergency operations center off and on. It kind of ebbs and flows with the disaster and what is currently going on. But we had staff come into the emergency operations center that canceled vacation plans, that had weddings they had planned to attend that they canceled and came into our emergency operations center to respond. We also had an employee in our emergency operations center that lived in Lake County and didn't know whether or not his house was still there, and he continued to serve in the emergency operations center and work. So we've had a tremendous support from the staff that have served, and I think they've done a great job in doing so. So as the board may be aware, the local proclamation that's before you is kind of our way of notifying the governor's office that there is a disaster in our county in a formal way. When CEO Angelo declared the emergency, it kind of opens the door for state resources to come in, and it's necessary for the board to ratify to continue that local proclamation to let the state know that we still have an emergency going on in Mendocino County. Luckily, because of the early proclamation, we were able to get a gubernatorial proclamation from the governor's office, which included Lake and Mendocino counties due to the fire. So this is kind of the next reiteration, as the board is aware from our previous fires, of continuing that to let the state know that there is an emergency in Mendocino County, and that we would like whatever state resources that can be made available to us in support of our response to the fire. So with that, I would just once again like to thank the staff that have responded to Emergency Operations Center and to our call center. They've been amazing. They've been extremely helpful, and they've been really the backbone in helping support the response that's been going on. I would also like to thank the volunteers that have responded as part of this disaster. We've had volunteers out at animal shelters working with our county employees and responding to this emergency, and we've had a tremendous support, and I think we live in an amazing community that we have all these community members willing to assist during a disaster.
And search and rescue as well.
Definitely.
So, Chair Brown, as Janelle comes up to talk about our technology in the EOC, I would also like to say that Sheriff Allman and I asked Human Resources to give us a list of those county employees that live in Lake County. And between the Sheriff's Office and the rest of the county, we have 87 employees that live in Lake County. Wow. We sent an email out to all of the employees that live in Lake saying, you know, we're here. If you need something, please let us know. And we have received a response from 3 employees. And so those employees that are our employees that live in Lake County that need assistance, we want them to know Mendocino County is here for you. Between the sheriff and myself, we're following up with any employee that needs assistance.
Thank you.
Good morning, board members. Janelle Rao, Deputy CEO. I just wanted to briefly update the board on the technology improvements that were made in the EOC. At the board's direction, if you recall, we came forward a few months ago with a list of priority projects for the IT master plan and transferred some funds out of our IT reserve. As a result, our information services division, along with our IT master plan consultants, were able to make that project a priority. So essentially, the EOC got a facelift, so to speak, with the technology. Response time was wonderful. The EOC came up without a hitch. They're still working through kinks, but I really want to commend our information services staff. They were some of the first to actually be aware of the situation happening, and were there to assist Rick Ellert with his efforts to getting the EOC up and running. I do also want to mention that as part of OES and your CEO's responsibilities as the purchasing agent as well as the OES director, we serve as logistics. So your facility staff, your central services staff, and your entire executive office staff were all on standby or supporting. So they were there, they were up, they were ready. Your information services division manager does live in Upper Lake and was evacuated, but was remotely working from his home to assist us in all of our needs. So I just wanted to commend the board for your actions in giving us that support with the IT master plan, as well as our staff that have been supporting and there and ready and still are. Thank you.
Chair Brown, I believe that is the end of the staff report for this item. And again, when we move to the next item, Tammy Moss-Chandler will be talking about the public health event.
Thank you, Ms. Angelo. Supervisor McCowan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will move approval of the recommended action ratifying the declaration and adopting the proclamation.
I'll second the motion.
So we have a motion by Supervisor McCowan, a second by Supervisor Jurdy. Any comment? The public, seeing none, back to the board, and we'll vote by the button.
Motion carries with Supervisor Hamburg and Supervisor Krosky absent by prearrangement.
Thank you. So now we'll move on to agenda item 5A, discussion and possible action, including 1, making of a determination. 5B. Oh, it is 5B. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. Agenda, if I'd put my glasses on, maybe you'd see better. Agenda item 5B, discussion and possible action, including adoption of resolution ratifying declaration of local health emergency as proclaimed by the local health officer. Health and Human Services Agency is the sponsor. We've been through this, done this, gosh, I think 10 months ago, this whole process. So we're going to go to Miss Tammy Moss-Chandler.
Thank you, Supervisor Brown. So just to give the overview of how we came into the public health declaration over the weekend following the immediate declaration. So Friday evening after 6 o'clock, the EOC actually requested that the shelter be open because the fire activity on Friday the 27th. And so within 2 hours, social services employees, the shelter team within HHSA had the shelter open and ready to go in partnership with Mendocino College. I just want to commend what a great partner Mendocino College has been to the county and to the social services team that ramps up the shelter. It's a really great location. It is a really safe and healthy environment for people who are going through a crisis of evacuation and a potential disaster personally, as well as the magnitude of these fires. So the shelter was open on Friday. It has been staffed with county employees only. We've been in daily and constant contact with Red Cross, but they are significantly impacted. They actually haven't had sufficient volunteer networks even to serve Lake County's evacuees and shelter system because of the magnitude of the number of evacuees and individuals needing shelter in Lake County. And actually the state California Office of Emergency Services has stepped in because Red Cross is unable to provide the full infrastructure. So Red Cross has been grateful. They certainly have helped us in terms of continuing to communicate our needs, and we're closely tied in through the EOC with a statewide shelter task force that's in operation through the State Operations Center, given the magnitude of evacuees and people needing shelter statewide and across the North Coast now.
And that also includes the road closures. I mean, how do you, where do you go at this point?
That's right. So the reality for our shelter is that we expanded on Saturday, expecting more impact potentially from Lake County. Our highest census in the shelter was Saturday night. We had over 30 people in the shelter Saturday night, and over half of those were from Lake County. But then when the highways were both closed for 20, when 20 closed on Sunday, we've actually had a decrease in our census, and we're monitoring closely through the EOC when the highway might open, because we have a lot of service needs right over the border. And as CEO Angelo talked, we're also looking really closely at the needs for those over 80 employees and their families who are now isolated on the east side because they can't get over here, and what we might do around sheltering support for them. The other thing we've done in connection to the shelter over the last 48 hours is really worked with MROC, our already existing recovery team, and the resource distribution points they have for fire survivors to make sure there's a place for both shelter attendees and individuals in the community who maybe have a friend or relative to stay with, but they have urgent needs around food, clothing, and basic needs. So that's been set up, and it actually was pushed out just this morning through the sheriff's Facebook post, which has this real-time information through the EOC, and Liz Evangelitos, I think is Liz's name, really doing an excellent job through the EOC to help us get communication out. That resource list is also available through the call center, of course, and key distribution points, and where we're distributing masks so far. Really amazing partnership with the library system, so anyone can walk into the library in Ukiah, Willits, or Covelo. They can get free N95 masks. They also can get this list of other places to go if they have immediate needs in the community. And the bookmobile also will have masks. And we'll certainly follow up. We're working closely with the fairgrounds because they actually needed some support over the weekend to know where to send families who were looking for RV or camping space. So they're closely tied with us, and we'll make sure they have N95 mask access as well. So to the public health declaration, as the declaration for emergency of the emergency was being proclaimed on Saturday, we were working closely with our new health officer, Dr. Gary Pace, and our new public health director, Barbara Howe, is here. They did a great job over the weekend getting those masks distributed, working with our local healthcare system, with Coastal Valleys, EMS, with all of our hospital partners, and all of our clinic and safety net providers in the community on a daily basis. So we had a tremendous amount of public health and social service employees working behind the scenes and from their desk and other places in the county doing this work over the weekend. And we have before you today the public health officer's declaration in anticipation of what we might need going forward, and to support some of the emergency provisions we've already done for the hospital system in the power outage over the weekend to make sure they had adequate supplies for vulnerable populations. So thank you.
And I will say in Potter Valley, our Hopper's Corner store, who had masks left over from our incident 10 months ago, approximately, was distributing masks throughout the valley. So you could go to the store. They took them to the post office. Of course, our firemen were busy, but they usually have someone manned down there. They also had a supply. So I don't know what their supplies are, and maybe I just need to get a bunch of them to take back out to Potter. And perhaps Redwood Valley, because it was pretty amazing, the smoke in the valley. Supervisor McCowan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll move the recommended action.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor McCowan and a second by Supervisor Jurdy to move the recommended motion, and that's a declaration of local health emergency as proclaimed by the local health officer, and they will authorize the chair to sign the same. But I do want to go to public comment. Does anyone have public comment? Seeing no one, it's back. Oh, I am sorry, Barbara. Please come forward. Our air quality. Hello.
Thank you. Good morning, board and CEO and Kit. Well, I just want to say that if you have been keeping track of our air quality on our, I'm sorry, Barbara Moed, Air Pollution Control Officer. Thank you. If you have been keeping track of air quality on our website, you may have put together that our monitors really are, our fixed monitors are not well positioned to have really registered the impact of the smoke that we have experienced. And that was pretty evident to us on Friday evening. On Saturday morning, we did set up a portable particulate air monitor. We had to make a choice between the two fires. We chose the Hopland incident primarily because it was bigger at the time and more people seemed to be impacted. So we are accumulating that data and crunching that data. Our air quality specialist who does our monitoring is one of our employees who has been impacted in Lake County and is trapped over there right now. So just to let you know that we've been working, most of our readings have been in the moderate to unhealthy. We have had an excursion into the, moderate to unhealthy for sensitive groups. We have had excursions on our fixed monitors into unhealthy AQI. And we will keep monitoring, and as that data becomes available from the portable monitor in Hopland, we'll be sharing that.
Okay, and
Questions?
probably should be shared with Office of Emergency Services, our center, and I'm not sure where else for the website.
Yes.
But you would post it on your website as well?
It is posted on the website, yes. And I also have an air quality advisory prepared here to distribute it for you.
Okay, yeah, great.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else from the public that would like to speak, please come forward. Seeing no one, Ms. Angelo?
Chair Brown, at this time, we have the cooperators meeting with CAL FIRE at 10 o'clock, so we will be going over to the incident command post. We will be taking yourself and Supervisor Jurdy with us, and Chief Gonzalez has arranged a tour. Supervisor McCowan went on a tour yesterday, so I just want you to know that as soon as we close this meeting, we will be going over to the incident command post. And lastly, I talked about cash flow, and my hope is that I don't have to come to this board and ask to tap into reserves. I'm not sure. Again, when I look at Lake County and what they've experienced with the ongoing fires and never being able to recover until the next fire comes, it's possible that by first quarter or mid-year, if we don't have additional revenue from last year as far as a fund balance, that we may need to tap into reserves. So I just want to put that out there so we could all be thinking the goal of even mentioning this is for the departments to know conserve, conserve, conserve as we move forward. So that is everything that we have today. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, I talked to the county supervisors in Lake over the last 3 years about their experience and the cash flow and how they dealt with that. So it is a serious issue. Supervisors, we do have a motion on the floor. It's a recommended motion. Please vote by the button.
Motion carries with Supervisor Hamburg and Supervisor Krosky absent by prearrangement.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you everyone for being here today. Another emergency. Seems like, I just grieve for Lake County. They've just experienced in the last 6 years at least 7 fires. And here they go again. Same with us. But I know we'll all take care of each other. We have a wonderful community, and we do need to help our neighboring counties. So I thank you, and we're going to adjourn for today. Thanks.